Brothers and sisters, what is up? Welcome back to yet another one from us. I'm trusting and hoping and believing that all is well with you in all these corners of the world. I trust that you are all vibrating at the highest level as you can. Now, I am not vibrating at my highest right now. After seeing this, after listening to this guy, I am just like, what in the world is this? Brothers and sisters, there's this interview where this guy is being asked, where do the African artifacts belong? And the guy says they belong in their museums. They belong in the British, in the French, in all these other museums where they were stolen and taken to. Let us listen in and I'll come back with my commentary.
These artifacts, who do they belong to?
They belong to the museums where they are now.
But if they were stolen?
No, they were not stolen. It was looting, yes, but there were the looting of war was legal.
I don't get this distinction between looting and stealing.
He says the artifacts were not looted, they were not stolen. He then says they were looted legally. He is contradicting himself. I'm just not even understanding the rubbish he's saying here, because what is looting, what is stealing? How is looting and stealing legal? Hey, please, somebody explain this.
No, it was stolen if you want, but in the 19th century, in the 18th century, in the 17th century, during all the wars, art was stolen. So we must give back everything or nothing. And more of this, these works of art, when they were taken, if they were not taken, they would have disappeared, because many of artifacts, African artifacts, are made of wood, and wood it was not made to be kept, you know, so it would have disappeared. They became works of art in museums because Europeans said it's art.
One, he says, if these things were not stolen, they would have disappeared, which is to insinuate that we Africans cannot take care of our things, so we just make these beautiful artifacts only for them to disappear, only for them to rot, because he also says that, remember, they are made of wood, so it means that they'll just rot and that will be the end of it. So we as Africans needed them to steal them so that they can be put in some museum and be reserved for us to, go and admire in the future. And he also says that these things were not going to be considered as something precious, as artifacts, as something worth admiration, if the Europeans didn't give them that standard. So us Africans were just making things and, just playing around, nothing, without realizing the value of whatever we're making, without even caring what kind of, significance it has, until then the Europeans, the gods of this world, came and told us that, by the way, this is a nice piece of art, by the way, this is worth, being seen in some museum somewhere in France, somewhere in Britain, and somebody would come and pay money for, seeing this. So us as Africans never realized what we had until they came and told us that. The same thing that they insinuate, that we don't know the value of the minerals that we have in these lands, in the land of Africa. So they are the ones who come, exploit these, minerals, the gold, make this jewelry and show us that this is what we got from your soil and this is the kind of beauty that can come out of it. Now, because you don't understand what value it has, then you can just as well stay without exploiting it, stay without using it, and let us do it for you. Despite whatever Ghana was doing, despite whatever the Ashanti Kingdom used to do, the gold statues, the gold jewelries, everything that they used to make for their kings and for their chiefs, despite all of that knowledge that they had, despite all of the value that they put in those gold, beautiful jewelry and artifacts that they had in Ghana and everywhere around Africa really, despite all of that knowledge that we had of how precious our stones are, he is saying that we would have never known the kind of beauty, the kind of value that these things had if they were not the ones who came and told us. This is the same mentality that our leaders have. They do not know the value, and this is very true. They do not know the value of what Africa has to offer until some white man comes and tells them, by the way, let us do this for you. By the way, let us exploit this. We'll just pay you 10% for it. And the reason you see our leaders just easily giving away our resources, our minerals, because to them it's just a stone. What else can we do with it? Just let them mine it. Just let them take it. Even if they pay us 10% of whatever they've gotten, it's fine. It's useless anyways. That's the kind of mentality that we have in our old leaders. Leaders that only listen to these guys. It's happening, brothers and sisters. It is happening in Africa. It's not something that he's just making up. It's happening. Some leaders really don't know the value that we have in the land. They don't know. Some will even say, I don't want to exploit that because it's dirty energy. I don't want to associate myself with that. I want to use clean energy. So the fuel, the oil, the whatever, you take it. I don't need it. Come and mine it. I am all about clean energy. And these guys are mining all our resources and going to use them to industrialize themselves. Whilst we are saying, no, it's not okay.
And if you want to come back on this, why don't you come back 19th century, 17th century, 16th century? You cannot stop. You don't know where to stop.
You know, how do we get African kids to see their own artifacts?
Yes, you can do this, you know, in French museums and Africa to organize exhibitions. Yes, it's okay to send them to Africa, but they must return to the French museums where they belong.
He's asked, how do we get the African children to come and admire their own artifacts? How do we make sure that they come and see these things? The guy says, let us organize exhibitions for these guys to come and admire them from France. So we pay the plane tickets, we travel to France, we give them all the money that we have, we go and spend our money, we also pay to see what our forefathers did. The beauty that our forefathers created. And these things were not just crafts, they were not just artifacts. These things had so much spiritual value. These things were gods. Some of them had so much significance in their spirituality because some of these things were not just crafted out of somebody's boredom. This made so much sense to our ancestors, to our forefathers. They were not just things that France could come and take away and that would be the end. People fought and died just by refusing to let go of these artifacts. And this guy is saying, just organize an exhibition, let them come and see. One mistake we cannot do is to take them back to Africa. No, we cannot do that. He says that. So they belong to their museums. And if you have been to Europe or to all of these other countries where they have museums, the British museums, most of the artifacts in those museums do not belong to those countries. They belong to Africa. You have artifacts from Benin. You have so much rich history from African countries that are in their museums. And you wonder, why is this thing in your museum when it's supposed to be in ours? They stole them. Now they are making money out of what our forefathers made. The same thing that they are still doing, making money from the resources and the minerals that we have in our countries. How do we stop this, brothers and sisters? How? Because there's no way we can continue to allow this to happen and just pretend as if nothing has happened. And I've just seen another video where our brothers and sisters in the US were saying there's no way they will allow for the Beninese artifacts to be taken back to Benin because it is also part of their ancestry. It's something that also brings them closer to home. So some of these things were in the museum in the US, in the museums in the US, and they're like, these things also bring us closer to our ancestors. So there's no way we'll allow them to go back to Africa, to Benin. Because by them being around us, it is giving us some spiritual value. We are connecting. It feels like we are reconnecting with our ancestors. I don't know what's your take on that one, but with this one from France saying, no, we are not going to take them back to Africa. No, let them come and see them from France. It is so absurd. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. So this is what these guys take us for. And if it's artifacts that they can take control of, what else can they take control of? If they can claim this as theirs, if they can say we are not taking it back to you, what else can they steal from us and never bring back? Very saddening news indeed. And just looking at the comments, seeing some fellow brothers and sisters from our own motherland saying that we should thank these guys for keeping these things for us, because seriously speaking, if they were still in Africa, these things would have vanished. These things wouldn't have been taken good care of. We would have never even been able to see them. It is just very ridiculous for me because it shows the ignorance that is still in our brothers and sisters. Some of them are just too stupid. You can't even argue with a person like that. So it's good for them to steal what is ours and go and preserve it for us because we can't do it ourselves. So it's good for them to come and mine our gold because we cannot mine it ourselves. So it's good for them to do whatever they want to do in the motherland because we can't do it ourselves. That's the kind of mentality that is destroying Africa. And there's a young guy who commented like that. It's not an old person, a very young guy, saying we should thank them. We should actually pay them for that. How ridiculous. It's time for us to wake up, brothers and sisters. And if you don't wake up your fellow brother, your fellow sister, who else will? Let us wake up from all this nonsense. Let us wake up from all this. It's stupid. If you don't realize how much these guys are stealing from us and how much looting they continue to do in Africa and how it is affecting us and how it will continue to affect our generations if we don't stop it, then Africa is doomed forever and our ancestors will continue to cry from their graves. We are the generation to change all of this. We are the generation to put a stop, an end to all of this. Actually, we should even be starting to bring back all of our artifacts. Bring back everything. We can also have our museums where if they want to come and see them, come and see from our museums, because it seems like you love everything about Africa. Then come to Africa and see it and go back to your country. Let me know what you think about this, brothers and sisters, but it just lowered my vibration. I was like, what the heck? So this is what you take us for. So this is what you see in us. We can't take care of our own. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section down below. If you love to support us, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.